Minister, first of all, I want to acknowledge the increases in the budget and to say that yes, there are certain elements of that that of course are most welcome. But the one thing that we have to be very mindful of the fact, and that is the ever-increasing cost of inflation, and the fact that the value of the money itself, €100 now for a person, for example, what that will actually do in spending power when you see that we're not very far away from a bag of coal being €50. In many cases it's over €40 already, and if the price seems to be keeping going the way it is, and it's just everything is so expensive. The massive increase in the cost of electricity, and despite the allowances that certain categories of people might have with regard to ESB, it's still not near enough, because the actual cost of a unit of electricity has gone through the roof. People are struggling, and they're struggling just trying to keep in pace with inflation, and that is so difficult. And the sectors that we're talking about, of course, yes, people that are unemployed, people with disabilities, people living alone, pensioners, be they on contributory or non-contributory pensions. And yes, there is an awful anomaly when it comes to getting the fuel allowance, and as I've already stated, the fuel allowance is so important now to people, absolutely vital to people. People who never before might have needed it, now they certainly do, because fuel poverty is becoming a real issue. And of course, people like your colleague, Minister Eamon Ryan, and what he's trying to do, the fact that before people could go along and very easily and very accessibly buy turf. For instance, in their local shops, they could go up and buy a bag of turf. Now, thanks to this government, they can't do that. Surely, at a time when heat and seeing after people is so important, that was a very stupid and wrong decision. And nothing will ever stop us of saying how stupid and how wrong it was. One thing that I want to do, Minister, with the short bit of time that I have, and I know you will be interested in this because I know you pride yourself in the work that they do, and that is in County Kerry. I want to thank here tonight on the floor of Dáil Éireann the people who work in our intra-offices, the people who deal with the people every day. These are our representatives who explain in the best way they can. And yes, of course, there's times they have bad news for a person in that they can't give them the allowance or they can't give them what they're looking for. But they're extremely kind and diligent people. I won't start naming, but there is a few people, for example, in Killarglen that retired in recent times that are what I would call real sound ambassadors for the state, in that they did their best always for the client, as we'll call them, and they always assisted and helped and were kind in every way they can, and went far beyond the call of duty in trying to help and assist people. So I want to again publicly thank those people, and they're so important to the system, and they're so important because they're the representatives on the ground dealing with the applicants. And coming back to the situation on the ground, we have to do more because of inflation. There was one time if the pension went up a fiver, it could have been classed as something that was meaningful, that people could do something with. But now, for God's sake, where would a pensioner be going now with a fiver? That it's the cost of everything has gone through the roof so much that it really we have to be very meaningful in the changes that we make in the future, and we have to look at every way we can assist people, and of course vulnerable people. And there are people then out there, such as carers, who are working in the community and who are helping to keep people in their own homes. Because if those people weren't kept in their own homes, look at the cost they'd be on the state inside in community hospitals or in district hospitals, and trying to take care of them there at enormous cost. So that type of work is invaluable, and we have to try and make sure that we pay the carers and make it easier and more accessible for them to get a payment, and to make it in such a way that they are able to provide that much wanted and much needed service to people that want to stay at home for as long as they possibly can. I also want to just say that in the future we always have to try and remember the people that are less well off, and we have to try and think of making their lot better, and we have to try and ensure that we have a greater understanding of how difficult it is for people. And recently I highlighted very publicly a case of a person who really was, inside in a house, there was a couple of lumps of coal inside in her fire, and this woman was over 80, and she was sparing the bit of coal that she had outside in a bag in the hallway going to the house because of the cost of it. And you know, to be honest with you, Minister, it was very sad to see a person in that type of a vulnerable situation living and sleeping and eating inside in that room and trying her best to keep that room warm. And I'll be honest with you, the way we'd say it at home, it was easy, make a shot for you after you look at a situation like that. And I want you to understand that. And just finally, Minister, just about yourself, I want to thank you publicly for always being very understanding in the role that you're in, and for having your feet firmly on the ground, I believe, on this issue. Thank you.